0864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
Deep to right field at the warning track. See ya.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
At the buzzer.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now. It's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Huge win for Oregon.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. It's a busy day around the Oregon Sports Network, around Oregon Athletics, because right now, if you're live with us at the 1 o'clock hour, I will be looking up at the TV in the studio because the Oregon women's golf team is about to find out where they're headed on the NCAA Women's Selection Show. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, we're all just going to be, live commenting on our second screen feature here. I think the Ducks have a really good chance to be the number one overall team in this tournament, and they might be hoisting that national championship trophy here at the end of the whole thing. So Derek Radley and his team, the Pac-12 champs, and in the process, they beat the number one team, Stanford. The Ducks were number 2 in the rankings. So if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, we'll have some updates for you. Also of note today, we're going to talk with Rob Moseley. He's actually up in Portland today recording something for the Mighty Oregon podcast. I don't want to give it away, so I can't tell you exactly who he's talking to. But also, the Ducks are hosting a signing day event that was originally supposed to take place, of course, around signing day. COVID protocol moved it. And now we're going to have a chance to celebrate with the entire staff up there in Portland tonight. There will be a live stream on the Go Ducks YouTube that I encourage you to tune in for if you're not making it out there in person. So we're going to talk about all that. Baseball against Oregon State last night. I think some missed opportunities. We're going to get into all that and talk through it with you. Men's golf, don't look now, but the Ducks making some moves in the final round of the Pac-12 championship. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, that's on the horizon. Acrobatics and tumbling with some postseason awards. More Oregon football talk as well. We begin today, though, some news from this morning. Best of luck to Josh Jamison. He's headed to Louisville as an assistant coach. He was the longtime director of operations and executive director for the Oregon men's basketball program. A Medford native. Best of luck to Josh as he's going to Louisville and being an assistant coach. Some more turnover around Oregon men's basketball, and I know everybody wants to know, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen now with the roster? What's the roster going to look like? I don't know. I don't have all of the answers on that front, but I know that a lot of people are curious. We'll have more on that for you coming up. All right, let's talk a little bit of spring football. Yesterday, got the chance to talk with Rob. We actually spent quite a while. This is the long version of the Quack Minute, recapping all of spring football. Part 1 of our chat with the GoDucks.com editor-in-chief, Rob Moseley. Let's review a little bit of spring football. Rob Moseley, editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. Practice reports all week long, all season long. They're going to come back in the fall. Rob has watched probably more Oregon football practice than anybody who is not a coach. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not too bad.
All right.
It's nice to talk to you on a Wednesday?
Tuesday? We're recording on a Tuesday because Rob is actually up recording a podcast for the Mighty Oregon podcast in Portland on a Wednesday. So I told Rob, I said, look, normally it's like if you got something going on, we just take the week off. But it's spring game week. You know, we got to review it. We got to go through everything. And everybody wants to hear from the guy who's on Twitter at Duck Football.
Everybody?
I would say even if they respond with a negative comment to you about you or the Ducks or whatever, that they do care what you say.
They want to know, even if just to mock and scorn and deride.
Which, but if you're not getting mocked and scorned, you're probably not doing something.
Worse. Apathy is absolutely worse.
Right. If you send a tweet with your whatever thousands, tens of thousands of followers and it gets no likes,
right,
that's worse than having 20 comments that are ones you don't want to read, right?
Than getting ratioed, for sure.
Yeah,
yep.
For sure.
I'd rather get ratioed than have no reactions.
Yeah, there you go. Rob Moseley, the Resident Twitter guru. Is that still a fact?
I don't know. I'm getting to an age where, like, it's I'm going through like an interesting generational thing the last few years too, where I think like I'm pretty much anybody who kind of knew me as the newspaper guy that has completely worn off. So I'm just kind of the in-house honk.
I know you as the former newspaper guy.
Right. And there's still a fair amount of people out there, I think. But so I think I've sort of, my job is still to kind of give us a voice in the news environment. But I think, there's for a while there was kind of a blurring of the line.
Sure.
And now it's just this is just the PR flack.
Well,
which is fine.
I mean, O on the chest.
Yeah, pays the bills.
Pays the bills.
Yeah.
I say all the time that that we clearly have a rooting interest.
Yeah.
Because it makes our jobs a lot better when the team wins.
Right.
That's just the fact.
Right.
So I'm not going to ignore the fact.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah, and for as much consternation as that might cause for some fans of football, men's basketball, who might want some hotter takes, which is not really anything I traffic in anyway. The fact that our jobs allow us to talk to, deal with and cover so many other sports, which just is not the case at many media outlets now. Being out at the golf tournament last week.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, how many media outlets were out at the golf tournament?
Yeah, one or two.
Right. I mean, that's without you, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Without the show being on the air on Wednesday, and I was doing like hole-by-hole, play-by-play off Golf Stat. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what's fun stuff.
Totally. Those kids deserve attention too. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of which, I actually want to start before we talk football. You recently wrote a little bit about beach volleyball.
Yep.
Beach volleyball, I mean, they're coming up as we're talking on a Tuesday. Tomorrow, the Pac-12 tournament begins for beach volleyball. And there you go. There's another sport that there's some cool stories there.
Yeah, no doubt. And they were actually they had a pretty cool deal. Their senior day was last week. And like Brooke Nuneviller was one of the seniors. But, there's a lot of kids on that team that just play beach.
Yeah.
And so, aren't names that folks are as familiar with. But there was a really good crowd out there to honor that senior class out at Amazon and to celebrate them and to watch them play. And they won. So that was a cool deal. And, I wrote about Reagan Hope, who happens to be a kid who plays indoor as well. But she was hurt last fall. And so didn't get to play indoors. She might have redshirted anyway, but, didn't get, missed a bunch of practice time. Just, whether you're participating in matches or just practicing, it's a critical development time to just kind of get used to college in so many different ways. And she missed out on that. But she had planned to play beach as well all along. And she's good to go this spring on the beach. She's paired with Brooke Nuneviller, so another indoor /beach player
who's pretty good,
who's awesome. Yeah, she's just built for beach because she could do everything. In a beach, you have to do everything, which for Reagan is great because she's a middle /outside hitter. Her skill set is very much front row oriented indoors, but you got to be able to do everything on the beach. You got to have the back row skill set as well, and she's really honing that. And she has times this spring where she has an indoor practice and beach on the same day. Beach is in the afternoon, but she'll see growth in herself from an afternoon beach practice to an indoor practice the next morning. She'll just see herself, her skill set evolving and expanding, just literally overnight. Yeah. So, obviously, for all the fans that come out to watch the indoor team in the fall, you're going to see a really good kid who's getting a lot better this spring. But for the beach program too, which like you say, kicks off Pac-12s. Today, I guess we're saying.
That's right, today.
Being great for them because, Brooke and Reagan are their number one pairing, and, they've more than held their own against, elite competition.
Full disclosure, we're recording Tuesday afternoon. By the time the show is actually on and this is playing on a Wednesday, we'll know the result from Tucson because they're playing in the morning. So let's hope that was a good we sent some good juju, right?
There you go.
Sent some good juju. Hey, talking about football too, like there is this sense with football because there's such an interest in it, right? That fans want to know everything that goes on, and that's just the nature of that sport. But I think it also leads to people like you and me getting lost in kind of the day-to-day, and forgetting that there are some cool stories to tell. Well, you got a chance to tell a cool story talking about spring ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think is those stories are great, like that's what it's all about. Tell fans about that if they missed it.
Yeah, so my practice report from the final practice, it was kind of an odd spring setup, odd from what we're used to because Dan Lanning actually held a practice after the spring game, which we're used to the spring game being practice number 15, and that was practice 14 this year. So there's practice 15, So it's a little bit like this coda at the end and kind of the denouement to spring. But it was a chance to, the spring game was kind of the time to put a bow on all the big storylines and kind of the things, stuff like that. But there was this other practice left and how to cover that. And there was this kid, Isaiah Hardy, who I'd kind of had my eye on all of spring just to see how he was doing because I noticed him on social media, and he's a law school student who was on a full ride to the law school and then signed up to attend a walk-on tryout in February, got selected, and was a guy at practice every day this spring. And, that's amazing, the fact that he was able to balance all of that. And he said it was wild, but, he had to make some sacrifices. He said playing football was like having another 5-unit course in law school. Law school is on a semester calendar rather than a quarter calendar, so their final exams are coming up here in the next 2-3 weeks. So, he said practice ended kind of just in time for him to really focus 100% on all of his exams, but obviously he's had to juggle a lot the whole spring. But, one of the most impressive parts that probably it will sound odd to a lot of people is his eligibility window is closed because he was a 2016 high school graduate. He did his undergrad at San Diego State, tried to walk on there, wasn't selected from a tryout, so just did his undergrad, came here to go to law school, started during the pandemic year, just was for online only that year, 2021. And then now 21-22, he's been on campus since August. He was kind of kicking himself for not coming out to a tryout in the fall, but anyway, with the COVID year, his 6-year window, usually it's 5, his 6-year window is now closed. Unless something changes, there's some sort of appeal or something, he has no chance of playing in the fall, of suiting up for a game, anything like that. So this was it, and he kind of knew this could be it. You're making all these sacrifices just to be around the team for like 3 months and practice 15 times. One of those is a game, so you get to suit up, put a uniform on, run out of tunnel, all that. But it's a glorified scrimmage. So, and yet that was worth it for him to just sort of prove to himself that he could do it and step up to a challenge. And he said he had a lot of friends who encouraged him to do it. And, he loved the game, hadn't quite been good enough apparently to kind of make the next step officially, but still I kind of wanted to scratch that itch and was able to do it with this program here. So
that's cool.
Really awesome. And just, as you might imagine, a really heady kid, really mature kid, great to talk to, so. Got some wisdom to him.
Read it on GoDucks.com. One of the many things that Rob has written about on GoDucks.com. Rob Moseley, we're going to come back, talk a little bit more with him. He's up in Portland today because he's recording for the Mighty Oregon podcast. We got a big event coming up in Portland for Oregon football tonight. Also, the Ducks are dancing. Oregon will make its 4th straight NCAA regional appearance as the number 1 seed in Albuquerque. It's showtime for Oregon women's golf. Number 1 seed in Albuquerque for the NCAA regional. Let's go Ducks. The Pac-12 champion Oregon women's golf team, maybe on their way to a national title. We'll see. The number 1 seed in the Albuquerque regional. When we come back, talking a little more spring football on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Continuing our chat with Rob Moseley. Normally we talk to him every Wednesday. He's up in Portland recording an episode of the Mighty Oregon podcast, so we decided to really sit down and go in-depth yesterday. We recorded with Rob yesterday talking about the spring game, spring practice, looking ahead to the fall a little bit, continuing our conversation with Mose. Let's talk a little bit of spring review.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to sit here and go through each position group, I feel like. Fans are going to want me to ask you about the quarterback and what you thought about the quarterback room, and I'm going to ask you a little bit differently than maybe they would want me to ask you. So everybody saw the snapshot of the spring game.
Yep.
You and I have seen them over the course of a spring. You more so than me in a lot of the earlier periods of practice. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think
unfair question, I know.
My first response is viewing them through the prism of kind of the way they were utilized and the play calling. I mean, it was just really wide open, and I think that's what kind of my wrap up was just the sheer entertainment value. I mean, spring games can be snoozers sometimes, and just the sheer entertainment value was really, really high. And if that's what this offense's character is going to be in the fall, that'll be really fun because just all the shots, giving those guys a chance to air it out. I think they all showed that they can get a ball out to a guy in space. And obviously we saw that this team has due to once you get them the ball can really make something happen after the catch. So, and then all three had like at least one throw where you're like, whoa, what'd you see there?
Yeah.
Or did that just come off your hand completely wrong? So, as Ty Thompson said, it's a great chance to see what you're good at, and it's a great chance to see what you really need to work on still. And all three quarterbacks got both.
Yeah.
I think
and
coming
all
out of
three
the spring
said that
game.
post-game.
So, that Jay Butterfield's comes in and I don't know, was it like his first pass? I mean, it was early, and then and he said, hey, all you can do. This program is all about if something goes wrong, how do you respond? What's your next play? And I think it was 2 plays later, or two pass attempts later was a touchdown. So no one player or team or game is ever going to be flawless. I mean, you're going to have things that don't go the way you want, and you have to respond. You have to flush that and respond. And, I think, all three can probably say they did that well, along with a few other things too. So, I mean, you can see the skills all of them have. I mean, Bo Nix being a guy who had a lot of snaps under his belt, probably not surprising he got off to the best start of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the young guys, once they got a few reps under their belt, more than held their own late in the scrimmage. So, probably based on their relative ages and their relative experience levels, probably not surprising that dynamic was apparent.
That makes a lot of sense. I felt like watching the game, and you said that it was a high entertainment value. I love that. I mean, we kind of knew, I feel like, going into it, just you and I being around the team and hearing what everybody's saying, we kind of knew that it was going to be a fun fan experience. There was a big focus on that. Rob, I'll be honest with you, it surpassed my expectations, though. I feel like fans, the estimated 42,000 that were there, they got a lot of fun out of it, and that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah, I have to give credit to this staff, and particularly the guys behind the scenes, Marshall and those guys. They were really ambitious. They were really setting the bar high, going back weeks and months for what they wanted that day to be like. And there were certainly times, I was like, well, I mean, you guys are shooting for the moon. I mean, I hope this works out, but I hope you're also not setting yourself up to, be disappointed in any ways. And they just knocked it out of the park. Yeah. I mean, bringing all the alumni back and promoting it that way, having the guest coaches, allowing them to call some plays. let's be completely honest. The way the weather worked out really
perfect.
worked out in everyone's favor.
Way to go, Mother Nature.
Yeah, if it had been rainy or something, it could have changed that dynamic a lot in terms of just the excitement level and the fan turnout and all that. But when you woke up Saturday and it was a brilliant sunny day, it was like, oh, this could all be coming together the way they hoped. So. I think that's a really positive reflection on those guys and shooting for the moon and scrambling to, dot every single I and cross every single T they could in terms of how can they make that the best show possible for the fans, the best experience possible for the recruits that were there, the best display for the players. It just, it's fun when a plan comes together, and I think it really did for those guys, so kudos to them.
Some of the most exciting plays in football, what a shock here, are the ones that are the biggest indicators of who's going to win a game. Explosive plays on offense, turnovers on defense. Right. We saw that on both sides. Now, and it was interesting hearing from the two coordinators Monday. It was, explosive plays, that's what this offense is built on. And then you hear Coach Lupoy say, turnovers, that's what this defense is built on. Some good and bad on both ways.
And the offensive coordinator the last couple of years, Joe Moorhead, would constantly preach that explosive plays and turnovers are the two biggest kind of X factors in determining wins and losses. And clearly that's kind of a doctrinal point of view at this point in the coaching community. And for good reason. I think it's kind of common sense as well. But I'm sure they have binders full of analytics too that just back all that up. But and I referenced earlier, there was a couple throws that I think each of the quarterbacks would like to have back. But also you look at the play Jalil Florence made on the ball to make that an interception and not just a pass breakup that fell incomplete. You look at J.J. Greenfield punching a ball out for a fumble that a teammate recovered. I think Steve Stevens might have recovered that. Those are guys having to make a play, and that's coached. That's an attitude that's coached. That's to your point, that this is who we're going to be. We're going to be a team that takes the ball away. And so that's having that attitude, that's using whatever techniques that they've coached up to get the ball out, to wrestle it away from an offensive player, just the will to win a battle for the ball, a competitive level that you have to have. Yeah. So, the defense definitely had its moments too, and some of the big plays on offense, you say, oh, that's a knock against the defense, but again, the quality of some of these athletes, if you do a good job scheming up a guy into space and then get him the ball, well,
first play to Seven McGee.
Sometimes you tip your hat and say, well, you called a good play and you've got a good player, and okay, now I got to have a next play mentality and try to counter that. But that's you made a play, so kudos to you. So what we didn't see a lot, at least, and I'm probably not the one to say this because I've said over and over again, my ignorance in terms of X's and O's knows no bounds. But it didn't strike me on a lot of those big plays that it was massive breakdowns defensively. No. It was just guys making plays and scheming up a guy into space and getting him the ball. And that's what you want to do. Every practice, every rep, every drill is an either or, some good and some bad. That's just the nature of a practice. But it was so much more positives coming out of Saturday, I definitely thought.
Agreed. More to come. I just said agreed. I did agree. I agreed with what Rob was saying. He's the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. We got more coming up with Rob Moseley. By the way, #1 seed in Albuquerque. That's pretty cool for Oregon women's golf, man. I'm fired up for this team. #1 seed in the Albuquerque regional. The Ducks will look to finish in the upper echelon of that regional and then advance to the championships. Guys, I think they got a really good shot here. I mean, every member of their lineup was an all Pac-12 member. Really. That's how good they were. Kylie says, Rob, thank you, sir, for everything you do. Oh, that is, man, we don't get comments like that very often, so Rob does. Thank you. We appreciate that. When we come back, we're going to hear more from Rob Moseley. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stories that he's writing and breaking it all down. Some of the post-spring breakdown. Okay. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Money isn't interested in the fact that you dream of going to Greece, and it doesn't pace at night wondering how you'll pay for braces 3 times. The point is, money without people is just money. Only people can use it to run the family ranch, buy their first house, or adopt a happy old dog. To us, the powerful thing about money isn't money at all. It's helping you harness the power of yours. On Point. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm having a debate right now. So, the chicken tender basket at PK Park. We're going to talk baseball coming up in just a little while. We still got more from Rob Moseley. Welcome back. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Okay. I'm a big sauce guy. Like, I think that you can take terrible dishes and make them great with a good sauce. Put your microphone on the air, Scotty. Okay. And I'm even curious. Mitchell Lee's back in the OSN studio as we're doing the show.
We're all jumping in on this
one. So I get a chicken tender basket that's got 4 chicken tenders and a bunch of fries underneath it from PK Park. Great stuff, okay? So I'm a guy that they've got like the little barbecue sauce cups, right? Barbecue sauce cups, okay. I want like 1 barbecue sauce cup per chicken tender. So if there's 4 chicken tenders, I'm going to grab like 3-4 barbecue sauces, and then I'm going to grab a couple ranches for the fries. Okay, so I walk into the broadcast booth with like 3 barbecue sauces, 2 ranches to go with 4 chicken tenders on a bed of fries. So I walk into the booth, and, well, our coordinating producer, Ellen Graham, was like, "What's wrong with you?" Jordan Brenner, "What's wrong with you? Why do you need that many sauces?" And I just get a text just now with also Kip Ambrose, our other coordinating producer, and he says,
"Are they ripping on you right now?"
Yeah, he goes, Ellen says, let the record show that it is, quote, irresponsible to grab 5 sauce packets per Kip. I'm reading this literally right now on the air. And I said personal preference, and I like the sauce. Kip says, well, that's more than 1 sauce packet per tender if we're talking a standard basket of 4. The ratio is all off. Ellen says it's science. But there's fries also.
You got to dip the fries, too.
You got to dip the fries, too, guys.
And you might want a bite with barbecue and then a bite with ranch.
That's right. Mitchell Lee back in the OSN studio. I need you on my side, buddy. Where are you at? Oh, he's out.
He's eating the barbecue
he's
sauce.
like, I'm not in for this today. He knows not to pick. Yes! Thank you. Those of you that are watching, the voice of reason, that's Mitchell Lee.
Yes.
Also, Derek Radley, Oregon women's golf head coach, is currently on the Golf Channel if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour because they're the #1 seed in the Albuquerque Regional. This is great. Okay, so let the record now show. I'm not even going to respond to this. This is a terrible group thread. And if they're not watching the show right now, then that's them. That's their fault. I want the record to show that for a standard 4 chicken tender basket that also includes fries, it is totally acceptable, maybe even encouraged, to have 3 barbecues and 2 ranches. Because why would you want to skimp on the sauce? The barbecue sauce makes the dish. So Mitchell Lee, just one more time for the people in the back. You are very much on my side on this. Thank you, sir.
Well done, Mitchell.
Mitchell, producer extraordinaire on the Oregon Sports Network, on my side. Scott Phillips, content producer, director of the show, executive producer.
I might have grabbed a couple ketchups as well.
Fair. Who's to say you can't have all 3?
If you have a bed of fries, you might have all 3.
I am the guy that even pays extra for the sauce packets if you have to pay extra for them. Ellen, Jordan, Kip, you lost this one, guys.
They're on the wrong side of history.
You're on the wrong side. Back to the show. It is Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Rob Moseley, part 3 of our conversation. This is a lot of fun, to be honest with you, talking with Rob, but we really went deep dive on the spring. Let's continue our chat. And I felt like we heard so much about athletes getting in space and seeing them then do their thing in space. So many different guys from top to bottom, I thought. And you talk about the skill positions. It's not just the wide receivers. I mean, I'm talking tight ends. We're talking running backs. I mean, when there's such a focus on that and then seeing the athletes in space actually doing their thing, I mean, if I'm Coach Dillingham, I'm like, okay, we got some dudes here. This is nice.
And I'm sure all the offensive guys and the defensive guys are really looking forward to, by practice 15, everybody knows what's coming.
That's right.
And so, I bet you Coach Dillingham had kept a few things in his back pocket to pull out for Saturday, but everything's going to be something that the opposing team didn't see come fall. So I think all the guys have to be really excited about kind of where they're at. I would think coming out of the spring, knowing there's still a ton they can all work on individually in small groups over the summer, and then get back and get cranking again in August.
And that's one thing. Like there were guys that we know are really good players that we didn't see on Saturday, both defensively, offensively. That's part of the offseason focus now too. I mean, I think about a performance like a DJ Johnson. I mean, the numbers just jump off the page at you with all the sacks that he had. He's going to even get some reinforcements along that defensive front.
Yeah, when you consider that Justin Flo was not out there in the linebacking crew, when you consider that Dorless and Popo and Keon Ware-Hudson were not out there, on the defensive line, and a handful of guys who didn't participate. We didn't see Byron Cardwell, and I think we all know what kind of flashes he showed, and the potential he has as a back in this offense. So, yeah, I mean there's even more kind of weapons that kind of were held back. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it's long.
Yeah, I think we'll all be excited to see those guys back. Just as we talk about from time to time too, just on a personal level. I mean, those guys, they hate not being able to be out there. Any time they missed over the course of this spring, whether it was only Saturday or whether it was more than Saturday, is frustrating to those guys. So just seeing them back out there when they do get out there is going to be, heartwarming on a personal level. But then knowing too what it means for the team and to have just yet more talent available, obviously a positive.
Away from the current roster, it was really, really fun for me to walk around and talk to some of the pro guys, the former Ducks. I mean, some of them walking around with their little kids in tow. I mean, Rob, that's a cool piece of what we got a chance to kind of enjoy the festivities of on Saturday.
Yeah, I spoke fondly over the years of the last few years of like the walk-on wide receiver crew the last few years, Tevin and Corbin and Vinny and those guys, and just bumping up into those guys, and do you miss it? Oh yeah, they all miss it, and but glad to be back. So seeing those guys and some of the older guys, Ifo and Jeff Mayo, Ugo Amadi was out there.
Now they're working together.
Lamar Winston, yeah, no doubt. But then some, Achilles Smith and Saladin McCullough was out there. Some older guys. I'm sure there's even guys who, for sure pre-season me that, I wouldn't necessarily be able to put a face to a name, but I'd certainly know the name, or on hand as well. So, again, just, from Marshall, the chief of staff on down, I mean, just kudos to those guys over in the HDC, because they executed they mapped out an ambitious plan and they executed it. It seemed like it was a great time for everyone.
And you know what? I want to tell one story just from top to bottom. One of the guys that I bumped into was Charlie Landgraf.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked Charlie, I said, so, hey, do you have a memory that comes to mind for you? And he goes, oh, I can do better than this. He goes, I was the one that had the headset on, as he often did on the sideline, the offensive lineman that would have a headset on. And he goes, I just will never I've never taken my headset off so fast, because when C.J. Verdell scored on that touchdown against Washington, he called it the walk-off touchdown. He was like, oh, this is amazing. Just all the way down, not just the big names that we know, but getting a chance, like you talked about the walk-on wide receiver core. I mean, those guys, man, that's I feel like, and you've been around Oregon longer than I have, but I feel like that's how a culture is built. No doubt. When guys like that are coming back and they're having a great time.
No doubt. And there's that great switch that gets flipped for each guy too. When you're in it, you have to kind of take yourself seriously to a certain extent, for the sake of staying focused and on task, and not getting ahead of yourself, and you got to kind of keep yourself in a little bubble of focus. Because there's just so much going on, and you have so many competing priorities, and once guys are able to step away a little bit and reflect a little bit more, and truly appreciate the experience they had, and see it from a different point of view, it's always really fun. I feel like an old man saying this now, but I've seen it a few times now over the years. It's always really fun when a guy comes back and, I remember this guy being really serious and kind of buttoned down. And then they're kind of looser and more fun and free, because, that's just how they had to operate at the time to just keep themselves on task. And then they come back and they're able to be a little looser and freer with some memories and thoughts and impressions, and, smile a little easier and all that. So.
They were great interviews.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I bet.
They were a lot of fun to talk to. You got a few, if we can, in the hopper coming up with these guys in the podcast, right?
Yeah, I talked to D'Anthony Thomas on Sunday. So that one for sure. We got a few other irons in the fire.
All right.
I don't want to throw anything out there, and then if it falls through, it reflects poorly on me or anyone else. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a few other alums that, because we were able to connect at the spring game, we're able to get them on the podcast.
Mighty Oregon podcast, so we can tell you, D'Anthony Thomas.
Yes.
I have a feeling you probably talked about a particular moment where he looked like a track runner across a goal line. And
I asked him, I said, when you're back in town, what are there a couple things that people bring up?
That's the one.
The first one is when he was spinning that Washington State kid around like a top for like 25 yards. The second one is, breaking the tape.
That's
in
become,
the Fiesta Bowl.
You see it a lot.
Totally.
Now.
And it's like Cliff Harris with the Natty.
Right.
Suddenly everybody's doing it.
That's right.
But it started at Oregon.
That's right.
And then the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin, and when it felt like every touch he had was a 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah, well, he's done that a few times.
It's great to talk to him, though, because, to that point, how explosive he is, it doesn't take very many touches for him to put a lot of points on the board. He's signed to play in Canada. He's hoping that's the step to get him back to the NFL, and he's hoping he has a long NFL career still ahead of him, relatively speaking. And he feels like a young guy. He said, I feel like a rookie still. I mean, there's just not a lot of tread on that tire, which is, something we talk about with skill guys, you worry about how many hits a guy is taking, how many yards he's got in his legs. I mean, D'Anthony, by the fact that, it didn't take him 25 carries to get 200 yards. It would take him five sometimes, you know. So and he wasn't getting hit a lot. Gary Campbell had a great quote from recruiting where he's like, I saw this guy, and I'm totally paraphrasing here, but, I saw this guy, and he was kind of little, and I was worried, and then I watched him play and realized he's so fast, he's not going to get hit very much. I don't need to worry about his size. So, so he still feels really fresh and ready to go. So I'm really excited to see how this works out for him.
Good stuff. Awesome. A lot to unpack there, and we'll, I'm sure, talk more. But, Rob, thanks for coming in and recording. Really appreciate it. And safe travels to Portland, talking on a Tuesday, because he's got a job to do, and he's kind enough to review a little spring with us. Anything else you want fans to know?
Nope. I mean, there's a zillion things, but I feel like we just went on for like a half an hour.
Great.
25 minutes. All right.
Good talk, Rob.
Quack
Thanks,
minutes.
Buddy. Quack minutes. It really was the quack minutes. There's a running joke in our office. Like Rob and I will do the quack minute, right? I don't think that they've ever actually, even when Andy Mack used to do them with Rob, I don't think they've ever actually been a quack minute. It was always like minute 30 to 2 minutes. Our goal is always to keep it right around like 2 minutes, because by the time I say, hey, everybody, it was practice number 13 in the spring, Ducks outside today. Here's what they did. Rob, what'd you see? Well, that's like 10 seconds. And I've taken the approach with the quack minute, just get out of the way, right? Like prompt. Okay, we're done, But anyway, so Mitchell with a great point. I mean, just true next level argument here on the amount of sauces that you need. He just texted me. Mitchell, feel free to chime in if you want to. Here's the thing. You never want to run out of sauce. Right? You don't. That's so perfect. I mean, and now I'm getting texts from these guys saying paying extra for sauce is a cardinal sin. Steven says, yeah, you got to dip the fries too. Exactly. And then look at this. Look at this Jordan Brenner. Look at this. A Jordan Brenner, 5 to 6 sauces is not, why?
I'm gonna ban him from our.
Yeah, actually, can we? Is it? Let's see. Let me look here. I can suspend Jordan for 15 minutes. I have the power to do that. Wow, this is not good. That's right. Mitchell with a great point. I mean, what are we talking about? And Ellen just doubling down right now. We are not on the wrong side of history. How can you say that right now? I am dumbfounded.
She must like the last few bites of her chicken to be dry. And no sauce, which makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Come on,
so
be better.
So, okay. Here's where we're at. And Kip is now asking, who's the tie-breaking vote? Because Jordan, Ellen, and Kip are all on the no, too many sauces. They're like, they want one barbecue sauce for the entire, and to each his own. Ellen said last night, she's like, no, I'm not a big sauce gal. Like, that's fine. That's fine. You do you, but let me do me. I need my sauce. I need the sauce. Okay, so who's the tie-breaking vote? I asked Todd Miles, and Todd was on my side. He was like, you need sauce. Absolutely. Let us know in the comments section. I can still suspend Jordan. I don't want to do that. That seems too much. I can ban from page, suspend for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Wow. Anyway, we're going to get a timeout because we need to. We're going to come back, baseball against Oregon State. It was a game of inches. Talk about that when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimate CY 2000 through 2021 sales. After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimate CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Not everybody needs sauce. I understand. The perfect dish, maybe it's so great that it doesn't need a sauce. But why would you risk it? Take the sauces with you. And if you end up with some extras, you throw them in the fridge. You use them later. How is it that the biggest debates that we've ever had on this show are about sauces? H.J. Cohn famously brought up on the show that if you could have 5 condiments for the rest of your life and only 5, what would the 5 be? Probably the most listened to and viewed segment. That's so sad, but it's probably true. The most listened to and viewed segment we've ever done on Duck Insider. This is great. Steven just says, I was dipping curly fries in tartar sauce before the podcast. Excellent. And if you need some extra sauce for your burger, throw it on there. We're going to be asking Jerry Allen this question tomorrow. He's going to join us on Duck Insider to run through the entirety of the spring. Women's golf, if you're just joining us, #1 seed in Albuquerque. Congratulations to Derek Radley and his squad. We're going to be having him on the show here coming up sooner than later, to say the least. All right, baseball last night. Unfortunately, it proved costly in the first inning. I'll go through it a little more detail for you. A pass ball that led to a runner moving into scoring position, then a nicely executed bunt. Runner gets to third. Next thing you know, it's a run, right? A pass ball that put a runner in scoring position. It was an unearned run against Christian Schifatelli, proved costly. I thought Christian Schifatelli was great in the game last night. Solid in his second career start. Matched his career high in innings pitched of 3, gave up just a couple of hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Justin Boyd hit a 2-run home run against Stone Cherby to give the Beavs a 3-0 lead. So that pass ball, the home run, you kind of go, yeah, all right. But the pass ball, that continues to hurt. And then you know what? It was Justin Boyd defensively. I tip my cap to Justin Boyd. He robbed a home run. Legitimately. Like, this was not, he caught it at the wall. Maybe it was a home run. No, this was a home run. Jack Scanlon hit that ball over the fence. Boyd reached over the fence, brought it back for an out. That was the difference in the game, truly. Because came in the 5th inning, felt like Oregon was going to get a little bit of momentum. Didn't end up going their way. Ducks offense got going with some clutch hits in the 6th. They had 3 straight 2-out knocks to plate 2. They got within 1, 3-2. Beavs got one back in the 7th to make it 4-2, and that was all that she wrote for the Ducks. But here's the deal. If that home run doesn't get robbed, and if the pass ball doesn't occur, the Ducks probably win this game. And you don't know. It changes the way that a game's going to flow. You don't know, but I think that this is the illustration of how razor-thin the margins are for this team right now when 2 top 25 teams play each other. It was a great baseball game last night. A great game between 2 really good teams. But I felt like, if that ball goes over the fence, pass ball doesn't happen, maybe the Ducks win that game 4-3 instead of losing it 4-2. That's how good these 2 teams were last night. And it was, I got to say, even though it didn't go Oregon's way, that was a good baseball game at PK Park. Great crowd, too. About 2,500 people there. So what does it mean? Well, it doesn't count toward the Pac-12 standings. This is one of 2 non-conference matchups for the Oregon team with Oregon State. Beavs are now number 3 in the RPI. The Ducks were number 14 in the RPI entering that game. They dropped to number 17 in the RPI. The Ducks are now 26-14 overall, and they're still within striking distance of first place in the Pac-12 standings. Now they're back at work against Cal Friday, Saturday, Sunday at home at PK Park this weekend. It's a big series for the Ducks. Every series matters here down the stretch, right? You just can't afford to lose some of those close games. But I feel like in the overall context of the season, Duck bullpen was good against Oregon State. They saw something, I think, from Christian Schifatelli. The offense just didn't quite get them over the hump there, and a couple things in the course of a game. Ducks hit into 3 double plays. Yeah, that happens. This is still a good team, though. I have a feeling that they're going to bounce back pretty quickly on Friday. Mark Wasikowski, you can imagine, frustrated post-game. Mark Wasikowski.
You know, the run that they got in the first inning was a well-executed run. We executed, a 3U6 double play, and they scored a run, and so that was good baseball after a very good drag bunt by their 2-hole hitter to set up an inning. The get behind the account, lose an account, having a guy hit a home run in that situation for a 2-run homer, that was a big situation. And then quite candidly, you tip your hat to, Meckler, who goes base hit up the middle against Britton. Britton came in, he challenged him. It was a big-on-big situation, and Meckler ends up hitting the ball up the middle, found some space where some of our hitters didn't find some space. Scanlon hits a ball out of the park, and their right fielder brings it back in the yard, which is a 2-run home run, and we lost by 2. So unfortunate, but you got to tip your hat to them. That's a very good baseball team. They played like it, and I thought we played like a very good baseball team too, and we came up just a little short.
There it is from Mark Wasikowski, the Oregon baseball head coach, putting a wrap on the matchup with the Beavs. I want to get a timeout. When we come back, your Cafe 2-minute drill. Going to look through men's golf, some postseason awards for acrobatics and tumbling as well. Stick with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Time for your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Before we talk with Jerry Allen tomorrow, he's going to be with us for a lot of the show, actually. We're going to go through the spring and kind of digest everything. And you heard me mention with Rob those pro duck interviews that we did on the sideline, actually. Thanks again. Shout out to Jackson Madden for running around with a camera with me, filming those over the course of the pregame festivities at the spring game. We've got all those for you tomorrow on the program as well, which was a lot of fun. Men's golf, Oregon moved up a spot to 4th, while 3 Duck individuals were among the top 15 after Tuesday's 3rd round of the Pac-12 Championship. Oregon used a 7-over round to move ahead of UCLA by 4 strokes. Bruins were 15 strokes over par on Tuesday. Individually, Yuki Moriyama, this is important, was in 3rd at 5 under. Owen Overett was tied for 7th at even par, and Nate Stember was tied for 14th at 2 over. The final round is in action today. At the last score check, I know things can change in a hurry, but at the last score check, the Ducks were making some moves. Things were happening for Oregon men's golf. In fact, they've got an individual in Yuki Moriyama who was within a stroke of the lead through 11 holes. Pretty darn exciting. The Ducks, I think, might have an individual Pac-12 contender there. Also of note for Oregon men's tennis, we'll have more updates for Oregon men's golf tomorrow. Josh Charlton and Quinn Vanacastile climbed up to number 15 in the doubles rankings this week. I bring that up because I was talking with Nils Schelander, head coach for Oregon men's tennis, and he said, hey, they're going to go to the doubles championships, which is pretty darn cool. So keep an update on that. We're probably going to have Coach Schelander on the show next week or the following week. Acrobatics and tumbling, the awards continue to roll in for the Ducks. The NCATA National Championships begin tomorrow at Matthew Knight Arena. The Ducks are in the final evening matchup with Quinnipiac. Did I say that right? I always get this one, and it's in my head. Kate Hughes, our old coordinating producer, yelled at me one time for saying it wrong, and now I can. Mitchell, Quinnipiac, not Quinnipiac. Somebody help me. I don't know. Scott says Quinnipiac. Okay. I always feel so bad. Mitchell can. Thank you, Mitchell. I appreciate that. One day after Alyssa Hugh earned All-American honors and Sarah Buckner was named to the All-Academic team, the NCAA announced Blessin McMorris was named Freshman of the Year. And Buckner earned the Louise Goodrum Academic Award. McMorris is Oregon's first NCATA Freshman of the Year. Illinois native, competed in 9 heats and team event during her debut season for the Ducks. And, well, she was really good. The NCATA Freshman of the Year. And she won the Freshman of the Week honors 3 times, by the way. And I thought this was cool from Taylor Susnara, Oregon head coach. I couldn't have picked someone more deserving for Freshman of the Year than Blessin. She is such a privilege to coach, as she gives nothing less than 100% every day. She has contagious energy and is a natural leader. Buckner is Oregon's second ever winner of the Louise Goodrum Academic Award, joining Hannah Esterman. The award is presented to the junior or senior student athlete with the highest cumulative grade point average whose team has earned a berth in the NCATA National Championship Tournament. It's very similar to the NCAA's Elite 90 Award. That's a cool honor. She's a senior in biology, has a 4.0 grade point average, a member of the Honors College here at Oregon. Buckner recently committed to attend Cooper Medical School at Rowan University after she graduates from Oregon this spring. Congratulations to Sarah Buckner. Taylor Susnara said, quote, Sarah is a model student athlete who never fails to surpass expectations on and off the mat. She has given her all to this program and university, and her legacy will not be forgotten. That's pretty cool. Meet start at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Number 5 Oregon against number 4 Quinnipiac, 7 p.m. in Matthew Knight Arena. Going to be streamed on ESPN Plus as well. There's your show and your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Yum sauce. Why wouldn't you want more yum sauce? See you tomorrow, everybody.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, son,